Hello there and welcome to the Star Wars Showcase YouTube channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of basic painting techniques so that you can build out your very own Shoretrooper Sniper from Battlefront II. Let's get into it. Now this one's going to be a pretty easy build. All we're really going to need is a Black Series Shoretrooper, although you could easily do this for the Vintage Collection if you wanted. We're also going to need a sniper rifle for him, of course, as well as just a little bit of red paint to give him that custom sniper designation. Now the sniper rifle that you see on the screen here is a custom 3D print from Anthanatos Unlimited. They're a fantastic Etsy-based storefront who does all kinds of action figure accessories, so military stuff, different backpacks and wearable gear, as well as some Star Wars accessories as well. So I definitely recommend checking them out. I was able to pick up this rifle here for $4 or $5, which is a pretty solid deal. The figure itself is also a pretty easy find. There's been a lot of Black Series Shoretrooper releases and re-releases, so you can usually find this guy for about $10 to $15. I grabbed this one used on eBay and scored a pretty good deal. I think I paid about $12 for him. And then the last thing you'll need is just a little bit of red paint. Make sure it is acrylic versus enamel, and you can find these at pretty much any craft store. Now I've got our Shoretrooper Sniper model pulled up here. The last bit of advice I want to give for this project is when you are using your paints, make sure to thin them with a tiny bit of water. What this basically means is you're going to, put a little bit of the paint on your different surface, your palette, your wet palette, and make sure to add just a little bit of water, a couple of drops, and mix that together. Oftentimes when you're using these paints straight out of the bottle, they're really too thick to go straight on in that form. And what will happen is when you paint on multiple layers, it'll look really clumpy. It'll start to kind of bunch up in different patches. And so to avoid that, what we're going to do is to thin things out and then do 2 to 3 really thin layers of paint. And that's going to give you that smooth, clean, even coverage across all the surface that you're painting. So as you can see here, I've got all of my stuff together and I'm just putting a couple of those thin layers of paint on his shoulder pads. So you can see starting just very very slowly. You don't have to glop that paint on there. The Shoretrooper already has that white band there, which is the same on the Sniper, and so basically you're just going to work with a very small paintbrush to get it as close as you can up to that line, try to keep things straight, and then cover that kind of tan surface on the top of that left shoulder pad. So here's how things look after 2 layers of paint. I do like to wait some time in between those layers. It will help ensure that the paint isn't kind of smudging as you're putting on another layer. From there, we're going to look to repeat a very similar process for the kind of small boxes and rectangles that are on his chest. It helps to kind of break those up into the 4 separate parts that they are. And as we did before, we're going very thin layers, work as well as you can to keep a steady hand. And if you slip or the paint doesn't really go where you want it to, feel free to grab a toothpick. You can kind of chip those little marks away and make sure you're getting that nice even line. So here he is with those little boxes on the chest filled in. Again, just take things nice and slow. There's no need to rush here. We're just going very thin layers with a steady hand. And finally, we're going to repeat the process here just on the right shoulder pad. And so if you look at the model, it just kind of, that red marking ends at maybe the 60%, 70% mark down. And so, to be honest, I really just eyeballed this. Try to find that nice line, and then as much as you can, keep that steady hand to get the straight line. You can then go back afterwards with a toothpick and just kind of chip away and get that as straight as you possibly can. So as you can see here, didn't quite get that straight line, so I've just got an old toothpick here and just chipping away a little bit at the places where I went uneven. And that paint is going to come off because we did those very thin layers, and this allows you kind of after the fact just to clean up your work a little bit. So following a little bit of correction there, here's our boy all painted up. All in all, this is a project that doesn't take very long and it is great for some introductory painting practice. Alright, so what we're going to do next here, and this is an optional step, is make a couple of improvements to that sniper rifle that I was showing earlier using a nice metallic paint. And for this step, we're going to be employing a step known as dry brushing. So as you can see here, I've got an old brush, the bristles are kind of crusty here. And all we're going to be doing for dry brushing is adding that nice, worn, metallic effect to our rifle. And so you'll want to shake up your paint, pour a little of it onto your palette, and what we're going to do is put that old brush in a little bit of that paint, and then take the majority of the paint and actually kind of clean it off on like a paper towel or a napkin or something like that. So we're going to wipe away the excess so there's only a little bit of paint left. And then we're going to employ that technique, which is again called dry brushing, where we take the mostly dry brush and we just go back and forth across the surface of what we're trying to paint, in this case the sniper rifle. And what dry brushing does is that paint will adhere mostly to the raised areas of the gun, adding kind of this effect like the gun has seen use, like it's been dropped, like it's been scraped against things, and that the black paint that was over the kind of metal on the inside has chipped away with time. Now, as with all weathering and effects like this that we add, remember that less is going to be more. We don't want to give him a silver rifle. So in this case, just take it again nice and slow, nice and easy. Only a little bit of paint is going to be part of the dry brushing process, and you'll just kind of scrub it up to get that nice effect on our raised areas. And once you've done all that, you pretty much have your completed Shoretrooper Sniper. If you'd like, you can add some additional weathering to him if you want to give him more of that battle-worn look. But in this case, I wanted to keep him a little bit on the shinier side, as he's already got a little bit of natural weathering built in with the Black Series release. So let me know your thoughts on this one. If this is going to be a project that you're pursuing, if you've got any additional tips or ideas on how to make further improvements. This is a fun project coming in at, under 20, 25 bucks, and I mean, it takes a little bit of practice if you're on the newer side, but you could honestly complete this in less than a few hours. Great way to round out your figures, add to those shore troopers who we're seeing more and more of these days for a fun, cheap build. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below.